Funding for Working Lunch is provided by the financial contributions of viewers like you. Additional funding is provided by First Bank, McGuire Woods Consulting, and Fidelity Investments.
This week we're talking with North Carolina's next generation of business leaders. So pull up a chair and join us for this Working Lunch.
Working Lunch is a production of UNC TV in association with the North Carolina Free Enterprise Foundation.
I'm Joe Stewart, and welcome to this Working Lunch where we're talking to millennial-aged business leaders. Jess, tell us again the story about how your company got started.
Yeah, I was a student at NC State, and when I was there, I was interning at a wish-granting organization for kids with life-threatening illnesses. And I saw a lot of kids losing their hair to chemotherapy, and they'd be offered a wig or a hat. And I saw a lot of them didn't really care to cover up their heads necessarily. They just wanted to restore their self-confidence through fashion. So I saw so many of them wearing headbands, and I started to look up organizations that provided headbands for kids with hair loss and couldn't find any. So my junior year of college, I started Headbands of Hope, and for every headband sold, a headband is donated to a child with cancer. So we're about 4 years strong, and we have donated headbands to every children's hospital in America, which I was really excited about. And yeah, we continue to grow every day, which is awesome.
Samantha, what about your company?
Well, I have a United Drug Supply pharmaceutical distribution company. I partner with pharmaceutical manufacturers to get their items on a government contract. And so I figure out what the veterans need, what the VA administration needs, or the Department of Defense needs, and I try and find somebody, a manufacturer, to either make it or preferably already making, and I try and get it on a 5-year contract.
Wow, that's interesting. David, what about your business?
Yeah, so I got into it through real estate, but I'm involved with Trophy Brewing Company and Rhinology, which is a running shop downtown. And we started 7 or 8 years ago with a craft beer bar downtown, the Busy Bee Cafe, and kind of have evolved from there. Just recently opening our Trophy Brewing production facility.
True. Now, you literally wrote the book on millennials. Are these stories consistent with what you know of young millennial entrepreneurs?
They absolutely are, and I commend you all for your courage and your confidence to pursue the things that you believe in. And it's consistent in the fact that it's the things that they believe in, right? And when I think about the things that you guys are talking about, you saw a need that you wanted to fulfill to serve others, something that you wanted to provide a service that would make people's lives better, enhance people's lives, make the world better. Similar to you, you talked about the veterans and things that they need. As I'm listening to you all, and you want to provide an environment where people can come together and share and collaborate and just socialize. So the things that matter to this generation are the things that they're pursuing. I didn't hear anyone talk about a business plan, a 5-year plan, B-school, none of that stuff. It was driven by passion and a desire to help enhance the lives of others. So I'm a little jealous. That's not.
Did you guys go to B-school?
No.
No.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Interesting. David, you've been involved in the renaissance of downtown Raleigh and nightlife returning in restaurants and stuff, but the restaurant business is tough, as we know. What are some of the challenges you face? Sure.
So the biggest challenge right now is the big political issue, House Bill 2. So the Busy Bee Cafe is 3 blocks from the convention center. A lot of conventions aren't booking now. No out-of-state convention is booking now, and that's going to impact us, and we got to kind of plan for it. 2 things we're trying to do. 1, kind of lobby for that to be repealed. And then 2, plan for a downturn in business so we can sustain ourselves until it is repealed. And so that's our biggest kind of challenge. The second challenge from the brewing aspect is kind of prohibition era ABC laws. And they're mainly around distribution, where once you're distributing a certain amount, you can't distribute your own beer anymore, et cetera. And so we're working with the North Carolina Brewers Guild to get those laws changed. That is not a quick process. It's not, we lobby for 3 months and it's changed. It's like you lobby for 3 or 4 years and your fingers are crossed hoping something might move an inch. But we're working on both of those fronts.
Yeah.
So.
Challenges, Samantha, for you?
I have a lot of challenges every year, but my major challenge this year is planning for things that you don't expect to happen. So like the worst case scenario, if I was trying to think with a focus group about 6 months ago as to what was the biggest thing that I felt my business could run into, whether it was like fundraising or hiring, and there was one thing I didn't even think was going to happen that happened. And that was a Supreme Court ruling that came down. It was called Kingdomware versus the Department of VA, that directly affects the value of our federal supply schedule 5-year contracts. And so to explain it to people that don't come from a contracting arena, it takes a very long time, very equipped staff to be able to get a 5-year schedule contract, a history of selling to the government. And now the security of those contracts is not as much because those schedule items aren't guaranteed to be purchased off of. Now it's going to open market. It's set aside specifically for a certain segment of business. And so now we have to change our kind of game plan for the next 3 years. So we're shifting some of our business now to the Department of Defense. It's not like I'm going to be able to change a Supreme Court ruling overnight. And that was a case that was 12 years in the running that it was just no one thought was going to get decided. Then it was. So yeah, that's my biggest challenge right now. Is adjusting.
So a company you started in a dorm room, what were the things that you didn't know that you've had to learn?
Yeah, literally in my dorm room. My roommates thought I was crazy. So yeah, some of the things that I really had to learn along the way was production, business plan. I was a communications student. I couldn't even spell entrepreneur, so I do spell check every now and then. But I think one of the perks that I had that a lot of people might see as maybe a downfall was being a college student at the time. A lot of people think that maybe you don't have the time or you should be focusing on your classes. But I would argue Headbands of Hope is what it is today because I was a college student at NC State and not in spite of it. There was so many resources right at my fingertips, and I think if there's one case I can run for millennials is that if something's in front of us, we'll take it and we'll use it to our advantage. And so that's what I did as a student to start a business. Yeah.
Well, True, you and I were talking earlier too. It's not just about the business leaders that have emerged from this generation, it's the workforce of millennials too. How does that differ from previous generations in terms of their sense of being an employee of somebody?
Well, it's interesting. I think on average, millennials are turning over their time in the workplace every 2 to 2.5 years. And so they are not really finding the things that they're looking for in organizations. See, when we talk about millennials, people often talk about them having such a strong desire to be connected because of technology, wanting to be connected technologically. Well, what's happened is technology has created values and behaviors in millennials that extend beyond the technological aspect of it, but still rooted in a desire to be connected. So millennials have a desire to be connected to their passions. We're hearing it right here. They have a desire to be connected to purpose, a greater purpose. And they have a desire, contrary to popular belief, to be connected to people, right? But people that will inspire them, not just influence them. Like influence was kind of a Gen X thing, my thing. You know, you were influenced by celebrities and athletes and people that you couldn't really touch. This generation wants to be inspired by the people they can actually see, feel, hear, and touch that will help them achieve their dreams. And so if they're not getting those elements in the workplace where they go, they're going to quickly look for them somewhere else. And so I think the older generation, most of the people in leadership now are the baby boomer generation, your friends. And they have a different mindset of what a corporate culture should look like, feel like, and operate. And it's very inconsistent with the way millennials believe a corporate culture should feel like. Leadership to millennials is really more of a positional role of responsibility to the people versus a position of authority over the people. And so I think that we're starting to see some clashes.
Well, yeah, what's your experience managing your own generation?
Purpose-driven. So automatically started thinking of that book, Purpose-Driven Life. Who wrote that book? Rick Warren. So when I first started the business, I come from pharmaceutical distribution background. I got into government contracting randomly because I had a non-compete that my ex-boss was trying to enforce on me. So had to sell to somebody other than who I knew. And so I got into government contracting. I was like, the government, I don't know how much business they buy or whatever. But once I started working with the people within some of the VA departments, like their purpose in taking care of veteran patients and advocating for the patients really of the population that really need the medication and things like that gave me a purpose and gave my business a bigger purpose than just providing medications through the supply chain. I know that, and my staff knows that, there is a VA patient waiting for that chemo drug or that antibiotic, or even if it's an over-the-counter product after we ship it, and we take all of those very seriously. So in essence, my customer gave me the purpose for my business. But it does give that value when you're hiring staff, even very, very young staff, in that if they have something to believe in, they'll work harder. because they know it's not just about them. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Joe, but you and I have had a conversation earlier prior to this starting, and everything that you're saying, I may have to take you on some of my speaking tours with me to validate. One of the things that I really emphasize to organizations is so many organizations, and you guys, I'd love your thoughts on this, so many organizations have a brand mission or their brand values or their brand vision even, right? But I tell organizations that really want to connect and resonate with millennials, establish a brand purpose. Start with your brand purpose, and then you can allow that to lead into your brand vision, your brand mission, and your brand values, because although millennials, from my experience, may not articulate it as succinctly as you just did, may not even understand it, everything that I hear and see, engage from them in my conversations and interactions is they are seeking purpose. So not only in themselves wanting to uncover their own purpose, but they are looking for the organizations that they go to and align themselves with to help to fuel that purpose, but they want to understand what's the greater purpose of this organization beyond just the bottom line.
Yeah, and I think, when I'm trying to think about where this stemmed from, like why we're so socially conscious, and I think about, when the time in which we were raised, and it was during a time where the economy wasn't so great, there was a lot of transition going on, and I think really that shaped a different version of the American dream for millennials. It wasn't the white picket fence, it's not the 9 to 5, it's not the stability, it's more of a personal bottom line. We want to feel, like you said, connected between every single one of our actions and what that result is and how we're making the world a little bit better than how we found it. And to us, I feel that that might outweigh certain benefits, paychecks, titles, when we feel intrinsically driven to wake up every day and feel that everything we do matters. So.
And I think that puts a good pressure on the business owner to kind of do things the right way. When your employees are driven by purpose and want to feel good about their daily lives, then you want to run your business that way so those employees stay. The other thing I found too, in order to keep really good people around for longer, because millennials like to move around, you kind of have to shift your business into areas that they're interested in. A lot of times that's what the younger folks are interested in anyway, so you want to be shifting there. But don't just chase your dreams, let your employees chase their dreams. And I'll just use an example. At the brewery, for example, sour beers are a big deal right now. And I'm not really into sour beers.
What is a sour beer?
Yeah. It's just like, it's a tart tasting beer.
Okay, like a cider?
Yeah, cider-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great, not quite as sweet as a cider, but yeah, that direction. But some of our brewers are really into sour beers, or were into sour beers 2 or 3 years ago. And that's now a whole line of beers we're doing at the brewery, and now I'm into them too because I've been drinking them through them. But it's something that our employees were interested in. In order to keep our employees, we had to move the business that direction, and now it's been really successful financially for us too. But I think that's in order to keep this generation of worker excited and interested in just coming to work every day, you have to shift your business into things they're interested in too.
Yeah, I think the notion of entrepreneurship, I think, is something that would be extremely valuable for organizations to adopt, is to understand that entrepreneurial spirit that exists with this generation, and don't allow them or don't make them feel like they're forced to go outside of your organization to pursue those dreams and to really express that level of energy and enthusiasm and excitement for innovative and new and creative ideas, that you can support them and help them nurture, build, and foster that innovation within your organization, and then it's a win-win-win, right? The organization wins, the individual wins, and your customer base wins. Right. So if you can foster this notion of entrepreneurship, then you won't lose the talent that is really looking to share and express that in an organization, a culture, and an environment that's going to foster that.
Well, as business leaders, you see the implications of public policies on the bottom line of your company. David, you mentioned House Bill 2, and that's been a significant debate around that in North Carolina, what the implications are for the economic landscape of the state. What are some of the other challenges? And as millennials, as the next generation, what are the things you think public policy officials need to know better about your business?
There's so many things, but I'll use an example we had last year when Obamacare and healthcare. So last year was the first year that we offered healthcare for our staff, that we were trying to figure out which option to go with. And it was really tough for us, even with having our HR manager who was handling the onboarding for deciding which healthcare company to go with, that the Obamacare plan for business was actually quoting me about 45% more than me going direct to a healthcare company outside, and that was super frustrating. My staff could have gotten health insurance individually, and I could have reimbursed them if that was legal for me to do so, where it would have saved us probably another 50–55% off of the costs for us to offer healthcare. So that's something you think about, not initially when you start a business, but as you need to recruit millennials who are starting to realize that you need benefits, right? You need 401k. You know, I have a younger marketing girl here now who is on top, way ahead of her time, because you know, she was like, okay, when can I do my 401k? I was like, you are an anomaly. Like, and these things, as you know, the age gets older, they want more security. And so I need a profit sharing plan. I need to be able to explain to them the bigger benefits, including healthcare, and me to recruit senior level executives from other companies to help grow the business. So it's, the health insurance is a big one for me, and then the second one is budget. So right now, if anyone who's in government business, they will know that P cards are shut off. So purchase cards, credit cards, until the next, the next government comes into play and the budget can get renewed. And until that time, I will not get credit card orders. I know that because we've experienced that the past 4 years. But we adjust for that and try to seek other business. But until the new budget's passed, it's really, really budget constraint on the ability for the VA medical centers and Department of Defense to purchase products when they need it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the first is definitely House Bill 2. I think one of the struggles that we're having as a small startup is you have to have talent. You have to have people that want to live here and want to be a part of this business. And so I think if we're a state that isn't attracting those people to come here initially, us as small businesses, we can't find those people. And so I think having a state that is welcoming to everyone, that people want to live here, that people want to start business here, is the first step. Second step, I would say, is education. I started my company when I was in college, but I wish that I had been thinking as an entrepreneur even before that. I think if we, gave fame and attention to entrepreneurs as we do athletes, kids growing up might be like, I want to be that, I want to start my own business, and start thinking like problem solvers at a young age, which means you're thinking like an entrepreneur. So being able to inspire that in our education systems.
I think it's a lot better though. I mean, you guys heard of CED, so Center for Entrepreneurial Development? They actually had, and I was a member of their Venture Mentor Service last year, where I had 3 people who were assigned to mentor me. I mean, and the CEO level people from other companies were donating their time. And they're a great organization, and for other entrepreneurs to see that there are other entrepreneurs who've been there, done that, have done multiple businesses, have had their exits if they've sold out before, that give back their time. It's important for us, I think, as entrepreneurs to give back time, even though we are so busy, because that's our personality type, in that go, 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 go. There's always another business venture, there's always another person I've got to hire, but there was always that person when we first started, or those couple people that gave us, oh yeah, this is how you do a budget, and you figure that out. And now that we've come along a few years with business, that it's important for us to do the same thing.
Yeah, I would echo the kind of House Bill 2 and education thing, and I think your point about passing a budget, which is just general government function, would be helpful. And the big picture fix, and it's top of mind here in North Carolina, is redistricting, but it's a federal issue too, and the districts are drawn such that the states and even smaller districts the people aren't evenly represented. And that does 2 things. One, you just have, in North Carolina, for example, a state that's not represented by its legislature. But 2, in the individual districts where they're leaning heavily Democrat or heavily Republican, you have folks running that are kind of fringe candidates who don't want to get into office and get stuff done. So if you got fairly drawn districts, potentially even no party primaries where everybody just runs together in a primary, you'd start to get folks elected who are pragmatic problem solvers, people in the middle who want to move things along. And it's just, that would equate to government function, people getting in office and wanting to get stuff done, like pass the budget, like not pass a House Bill 2, which is crushing our economy, like pay teachers better than 40th in the country, here in North Carolina. So those things would all be done if the big fix of redistricting was solved. And that's not just a North Carolina issue, although I do think we have the worst districts in the country.
Well, True, you've done a lot of evaluation of millennials as consumers. We hear a lot from our panel here today talking about their sense of the state's business climate and all of the various things that affect it. But how conscious are millennials as consumers to these sorts of issues? Are they going to seek out products and services from companies that they're aligned with on an ideological or a political basis?
Absolutely. Millennials are very savvy consumers, and because of the information that is just enormous amounts of information that's available, they have the ability to research the organizations and companies that they choose to support. And I use the phrase or the word align intentionally, deliberately, because they really believe that they are aligning themselves with organizations that are like-valued and like-minded as themselves. There's no coincidence that we have the strong development of B Corps and benefit corporations that have evolved and really grown in the last 5 to 7 years as millennials have begun to have a stronger influence on the marketplace, because these organizations are designed specifically to show and be very transparent about how they are using their profits to help make the world a better place. So whether you've got the Toms or the Warby Parkers or the Etnies or any of these, Ben and Jerry's, any of these organizations that are B Corps and benefit corporations weren't even a business category, before now, and so we have a whole new business category that has emerged because we have a generation of people that have an expectation of organizations that are doing better with their profits and focus on purpose beyond profit.
And I think that motivates other companies to also be more transparent with what they say that they're doing and show that growth and show that evidence of impact. I mean, for example, we provide a donation confirmation email after a person purchases from our site. They get an email with the exact hospital that their headband was donated to, because now it's great that there's so many companies out there doing big things and things connected to impact that people want to see exactly where that impact is. So I think that's just motivating other companies to also be more transparent with exactly what they're doing.
Now, what's happened, I'm laughing because I think a lot of people in the faith-based community might be mad at you guys because now millennials are demanding transparency from the church in the same way. Where's my money going, actually?
Pastors won't be driving around the nicest car in town anymore. Yeah, I think that's right, and I think like it started in our generation with folks who were interested in giving back, being the most successful, because folks wanted to support them, and then that's motivated everyone else to do the right thing as well. And it's kind of, now the ball's rolling, it's this really positive cycle, the momentum's there, and hopefully it'll just continue. Companies like yours have motivated everybody else to do good things with their companies too. So it's a good pressure. Checks
and balances, though. You need mentors who will push you to go one step farther or think 5 steps down the road. And I've been fortunate to have some mentors to do that, where they would say, you really need to offer this kind of benefits package. I was like, why? I'm like, because I can hire people like entry level and not have to deal with putting together such a big package. And they make me see the bigger purpose besides me just building, because we're all in business. We're in it to make money. I'm not going to apologize for making money, but the profits that you do make within a company, I go back and hire more people. So like that's where my money goes. My money goes back into infrastructure, goes back into building, and we're very fortunate and that we do run a nonprofit as well on the side, Operation Eagle, which sends care packages overseas. And I'm able, all those items that fall off contract that we have contract with the government, and medical supplies and things like that, we do donate to the nonprofit, and we take requests from these guys. And we just sent a group of packages off to fighter pilot group unit, and it's a do-good thing. And so I'd rather start my own nonprofit and or donate locally within the community and take care of community-based organizations who need assistance here than donating money to a big organization. And I'm not going to call out some of those big organizations, but you can go to charityreputation.com or something like this, and you can see actually how much money some of these corporations or nonprofits actually go to the end user. So
And the checks and balances thing kind of registered with me because I think like we're so interested in giving back that sometimes we'll want to give so much back we can't pay our own bills. And you really have to look down the road and see what you can do each month or each week or whatever, and help where you can and give back, not only because it's the right thing to do, but because it's fun and your customers want it. But you know, you got to make sure you can pay your bills and the business can grow.
Exactly.
And you can give everybody raises every year and that kind of stuff. So it is a balance, and I think that's part of our generation growing up, is to learn how to balance all those things.
The best thing that we can do for the community and the nation is to hire more people. So it's important to say no, and I say no quite a bit to people who want money or they want us to donate a group of things, and although we have a percentage of items we will donate, I do draw that line, because you're right, like I need to put that money back into hiring people, because that's how I'm going to grow my business, and that's how I'm going to be able to help the economy as a whole.
Yeah, let's go around real quickly. You've got a baby boomer sitting here. What's the one thing I need to know about your generation?
We don't feel like we have to choose between making a living and making a difference. I think we should find something that we can do that both at once.
I can do anything.
I think our generation is getting really interested in health, you know, food and exercise and living. I think that's a big one.
What do I need to know, True?
That you need to share your experience and your wisdom with this generation in an effort to help them succeed.
This has been a great conversation. Thank all of you for joining me at this Working Lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Funding for Working Lunch is provided by the financial contributions of viewers like you. Additional funding is provided by First Bank, McGuire Woods Consulting, and Fidelity Investments. Working Lunch is a production of UNC TV in association with the North Carolina Free Enterprise Foundation.